Hey guys, it's Josh Reviews. I'm about done. Seriously. Like, this might be the last ITN distribution movie I take a look at. Actually, no, it's not. I plan to look at some more, but I'm about done, man. These movies. Okay, so today's review, we're going to be taking a look at I Know What You Did Last Christmas. Literally just came out a few weeks ago. And, no. So I have never seen I Know What You Did Last Summer. Well, actually, I hadn't seen I Know What You Did Last Summer. It wasn't till July of this year that I decided to give it a watch for the first time, and I thought it was a pleasantly surprising film. I thought it was going to be cliche and generic, kind of like a Scream ripoff. But no, I surprisingly had a good time, and I'll talk more about it later as I go on with the review. But for now, I only bring it up because this is clearly a ripoff of I Know What You Did Last Summer. I Know What You Did Last Christmas. Come on. Come on. So this movie is about a group of friends that get invited to a Christmas party reunion 1 year after their friend gets killed accidentally because of a prank they pulled, and they start getting picked off one by one by a mysterious figure dressed as Santa. Okay, decent concept right off the bat. I like the setup. How it's executed is very fucking poor. Now, I said it before and I'll say it again. What the fuck is it with these movies and being so damn boring? I don't know what it is. These movies are so boring. It's always ITN distribution. Is it really that hard to keep a viewer invested? Apparently, because they don't know how to fucking write for shit. So, this is comfy. I could lay on this. So before I talk about the negatives, I want to talk about the pros, because there are some things I did like about this movie. The lighting, the cinematography was pretty decent. I liked the handful of shots. There's a few Christmas decorations, so plus side on that. Amber is the only character that I really cared about, and I remember her name because I actually wrote it down on this piece of paper. She was the most interesting character. Anything else? Oh, there's some decent kills, and I think the Santa killer looks cool. That's about it. So let's move on to the dislikes. Yeah. I mean, I knew this was IGN distribution. I knew I wasn't in for a, good movie, but I at least had some sort of expectation that this would be like at least maybe so bad it's good type movie, but no, it's not that. My main issue with this movie is that it literally just kind of starts off weird. Like, it starts off with this weird dream that you can't really tell if it's a dream or not until the character wakes up and you're like, oh, okay, it was a dream. And it's like, okay, what was the point of that? Then the title card just pops up and we see her driving to a car, and they don't cut for some reason. There's like multiple long shots of her driving in her car. She finally gets to the house, we get introduced to our characters, and we get introduced to Trey. And I only remember him because I wrote it down. I'm bad at names, so I'm evolving, guys. I'm learning how to write stuff down. And we get introduced to Trey and a bunch of other characters, and Trey is really cartoonishly evil. He's obviously meant to be the douchebag. You're obviously meant to not like him. He's the first one to go. Oh, spoiler. But you don't care because it's just like he's only there to be a dick. That's literally his only point. That's the only point he's there for, just to be an ass and get killed. It's like, okay. My main issue with this movie is it's boring, but not only that, but the characters suck. There is a handful of people in this movie. There is a pretty big cast. I'd say there's at least 10 or 11 people in this movie. And I was like, oh, okay, so at least one character is going to be interesting or, likable. Amber was the only one that I was kind of invested in. I didn't necessarily like her character, but I was like invested. She was the only one that I thought was at least somewhat trying. Everyone else I thought was wooden. They're completely one note. They have no chemistry whatsoever, if anyone. It feels like when they're like, oh, hey, I remember you. Oh, hey, how you been? It's like, I don't buy it. I totally believe this is their first time meeting each other, which I guess for some of the characters it is, because they completely forget about this one guy who's there. And I honestly forgot he even had a character death. He just kind of disappears throughout the film, or maybe I forgot. I don't know. This movie was boring. I don't remember. I almost forgot about it. The kills are decent, but when a character does die, you don't feel anything because you're just kind of introduced and there's no setup or segue into it. The one thing I love about I Always Know What You Did, or I'm sorry, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Not I Always Know, because that's the third one. Oh boy. Because in I Know What You Did Last Summer, the thing I liked about that movie when I watched it for the first time was how much I actually like the characters. Yeah, some of them are stereotypes, but they're good stereotypes. It's my dog in the back. Sorry if you hear that. You all right? Seems like it. Anyways, one of the things I liked about I Know What You Did Last Summer is how the characters felt like real people. They felt like real teens getting ready to start their lives. And then we get introduced, the first like 20 minutes of I Know What You Did Last Summer is getting to know the characters before the accident happens. And you get introduced to them, like when they're like, I want to go, start my career. And then this terrible tragedy, this terrible accident happens, and their lives just get totally like thrown out the window. They are not on good speaking terms. And when a killer starts coming after them, they got to work together. And it's nice because you sympathize with them. You feel bad. None of that's present in this movie. This is clearly a ripoff. I mean, obviously, I Always Know What You Did Last Christmas. But the thing that bugged me with this movie was the fact that you just get introduced to these characters. There's no setup. There's no real introduction. Everyone has one character trait. That's it. Trey's the douchebag. Amber, honestly, it's so bland and generic. I literally forgot almost everything. I'm not even joking. I had it and then I forgot it. That's how forgettable this movie is. And again, the acting does not help it. It's really wooden, very one note. It all feels like they're just like line reading. It doesn't feel like they're actually playing a character. It's just like they're reading off a script, trying to give a dramatic performance instead of just trying to be natural with how it's delivered. Which leads me into one of my big issues with this movie is the fact that because we get introduced to these characters just kind of right off the bat, which is fine. I like that. I like a good setup. Here's the problem. We don't find out what the accident was until 40 minutes in. Now, I mentioned that, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. In that movie, there's a good 20 minutes or so before the accident happens, but those 20 minutes are spent with the characters and getting to know them. The whole thing hasn't happened yet. They didn't get invites. They didn't get death threats or whatever. Before, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But then the accident happens, and then we cut to a year later, and we catch up with everyone, right? But that's like in the 20-minute time frame. We're 40 minutes in. We don't know what happened with the accident that they keep saying, it was an accident, it was an accident. It's like, okay, well, I don't know that. We haven't seen what it was. How do we know it's an accident? How can I feel bad for you if I don't know what happened? Now, you could make the argument that it's like, oh, it's keeping you on your toes. What's the mystery? It's like, no, I just call that lazy writing. Because when we finally do see what the accident is, it's not really an accident. It's literally attempted murder. And the flashback literally just comes out of nowhere. It's just like, wait, we're in the flashback? There's no aspect ratio difference. It's not black and white. It literally just starts, and I had to pause the movie to figure out, wait, is this just the same scene, or is this actually a flashback? And I was like, okay, it is a flashback. Because then we see a character that had died, and is like, oh, okay. Really wish there was a better way to indicate that it was a flashback. I will say, while this movie is pretty boring, it is relatively short. It's only an hour and 10 minutes. And I did find myself at some parts being like, okay, that was all right. I didn't hate that. But most of the movie is just fucking boring, man. I don't know what it is with these movies. Like, the people writing these movies clearly aren't meant to be writers. Like, no disrespect to these people, but it's just like, hire someone more professional, because I feel like there are a lot of cool concepts and ideas in this movie. I would love to see a movie with the premise of I Know What You Did Last Summer, but told in the Christmas format. That's fucking dope. I love that. There was also another movie that kind of did something similar, but with Halloween. Not similar. It's not a slasher, but if you guys know the movie The Night Before Halloween, I think that's what it's called. I reviewed it in 2022, I think. It was a pretty decent movie, and it had kind of a similar concept. A terrible accident kind of leads to these series of murders, and it's kind of like it takes place 1 year later. So I think there's a lot of cool ideas you could do with this concept, but none of them are executed well. It's just very bland and generic, and it's pretty boring. Yeah. Also, I wrote something down that I thought was pretty funny. There's a scene where the girl Amber, she is anyways, there's a scene where Amber is taking cookies out of the oven, and they're already decorated. And I was thinking, wait a minute, you just took those out? How are they already decorated? There's like frosting on it. Just little things like that. Also, there's a scene where one of the characters is holding a knife up to someone's throat. I have that knife prop that they used, and I was like, oh my god. Anything else? Nope. Pretty much it. You know what to expect. This is not a good movie. I'm gonna give it a D. It's not the worst thing I've seen. Could have done much worse, but it's pretty bad. All right, guys. I guess I'm in the mood for like an early 2000s slasher. We'll see what happens.